A First Coast News On Your Side investigation found documents showing that an eye surgery center offers its employees thousands of dollars in bonus money based on the number and price of procedures performed. It's information two patients of Lasik Plus tell me they wish they'd known before they signed up for the surgery. Their message: you have to look out for yourself.
We knew how many patients we needed to schedule in order to get our bonus.
That's the voice of a former Lasik Plus employee, whom we will call Sarah. She worked at the Jacksonville office providing initial consultations and pre-screenings. She says employees were offered financial incentives to get as many patients as they could. The bonus structure paid employees up to $18,000 more per year if their local office and the company met the surgery goal. She says this email was sent to Lasik Plus associates from a company executive in December 2017. It reminds employees they need 514 more eyes to earn their payout and urges each center to, quote, capture 10 to 15 more eyes this month so we can get there. Don't know about you, but an extra $1,500 would sure come in handy with holiday shopping. Sarah says that bonus structure was in place as of early 2018.
The fact that they need 514 more eyes to get a bonus, it enrages me.
Tammy Ford had surgery at Lasik Plus. Her experience was so good, she recommended it to her father, Richard. He also had the elective eye surgery at the same Lasik Plus location in Jacksonville. His outcome?
It's horrible. I should have never done it. And it's like being in a pool that was over-chlorinated and it's constantly stinging. And then constantly that dry stuff, you could rub your eyelid and feel like little rocks.
Sandy Peters was a Lasik Plus patient as well.
Honestly, every day, every single day since March 9th, I've been in some kind of pain. My eyes burn. Now they don't burn like acid. It burns more like lemon juice and like a cut.
I have to pull my head.
She now struggles daily with severely dry eyes and pain she documents in this home video.
Like so much pressure in my eyes, so much pressure here.
Lasik Plus did not respond to our request for information about how often complications occur. According to one FDA study on LASIK, more than 95% of participants were satisfied with their vision following surgery. In a statement to First Coast News, Lasik Plus CEO Craig Jaffe says the company has been performing top-quality laser vision correction since 1995. Quote, the skilled optometrists perform a comprehensive eye exam on each patient and work directly with the experienced LASIK surgeons to determine whether each patient is a safe candidate for LASIK. First Coast News sent multiple emails to Lasik Plus asking for comment on the company's bonus structure. We included this screen grab of the bonus structure a former employee turned over to us. We first reached out in late October. We tried again in November, then 3 more times in February. The company's only response was to refer to its previous statement that each patient receives a comprehensive eye exam. Sarah says she resigned from Lasik Plus because she felt that was not the case.
It just changed after that bonus structure was put in, and people just started rushing through the exams, rushing to get patients on, and I feel like the time spent with patients and the information given to patients is not enough.
The day of the procedure, they were rushing me, and then the doctor came to get me, and I wanted to ask her something, and I just said, you know, can there be complications? And she was like, it's surgery, really, really rude. And I had already signed the papers and I was already there, and like I did have like an instinct like, uh-oh, and I probably should have listened to myself.
Kenneth Goodman, the director of the Florida Bioethics Network, says the fact that a surgical center ties bonuses to the number of procedures performed is something patients have to be aware of in order to make sure they are making an informed decision.
The problem is that it means that an individual decision about an individual patient might be made on the basis of considerations other than what's right for that patient.
So what about all of those online reviews for Lasik Plus? They are glowing. Remember Tammy, who had the good experience with Lasik Plus? She says her review was reviewed.
I wrote them a review and they actually viewed it. They actually were able to see my review because my Facebook is private. I had to change my post from friends to public.
Both Sandy and Richard signed consent forms, and they say because of that, attorneys have told them they have no legal grounds to sue. Their stories serve as a reminder to always be vigilant, do your research, and ask questions before any procedure.
I just hate to see anybody else in this same situation.
I'm not saying LASIK is bad, because there is a lot of good things that a lot of people have. It's just my story, unfortunately, was not. And if I just would have heard anybody's story, I wouldn't have done it.
So the bottom line is you, as a patient, are your best advocate, and you have to demand to be fully informed of the risk and know whether or not you're a good candidate before you undergo any procedure. And later this week, you'll hear from a local ophthalmologist about who is and is not a good candidate for LASIK eye surgery.